going on, guys? We're making another quick video here for you guys. This was going to be on another personal weapon of mine that I own, one of my favorite ones. This is going to be the AAC MPW, or multi-purpose weapon. AAC is Advanced Armament Corps. They developed this a while back. I actually picked this up, I believe the year it was released. Not sure if it was this that they developed for the contract that was supposed to be replacing the MP5 or the MP5 SD in particular, or if that might have just been rumors. But yeah, there was a lot of hype when the 300 Blackout round came out because it had the ability of being so quiet, and that's really the reason I picked this up, because I can make it super quiet as I want it to be for the purpose that I need it for. Now the AAC, they had developed this, it was the Honey Badger. If you're gun guys, you know the Honey Badger. It was from AAC, but the guy that actually designed the gun, he actually left. I don't know if it was because AAC they were fucking stupid enough to not develop it, but he actually left and had great success on his own, making the rifle and developing the rifle under his own company, Q. Q is his company, and I know that rifle is actually a pretty badass little thing. I love it. I don't have any need for it at this moment because I have this here. But if if the money's there and there is availability on it, I'll definitely pick one up eventually. But anyway, that'll be a different review if and when I get one. So back to this one, the MPW. As you can see, this is a pretty short package. It's a 9-inch barrel, and I have the buttstock, so I definitely ended up paying the King's tax stamp, got permission for it and everything. So this is an SBR, a short barreled rifle. So if you're not familiar for it, or you're new to the gun world, you can't just have your gun set up like this. You'll do some pretty good prison time for it. So you need paperwork before you can have it configured as such. Otherwise, you can just slap a brace on it and then put your upper on it, and you have, for all intents and purposes, a pistol, which is fine. That's completely legal in most states. So yeah, this is going to be a pretty simple review. I'm not going to go crazy in depth with it. This is just my take on my personal rifles, and on this one specifically, on why I have it the way I have it, what I like about it, and things that I wish AAC would have done to change it up a little bit, maybe. But let's begin with what it is. All right, so overall package. Again, this one I bought it because I like it quiet. Now I run this with a can. I run it with AAC 762 SDN6, right? That's what I bought this setup for, is to use it in conjunction with one another. I don't use this rifle without the can. I have used the can on other rifles, on other 30 cals or 308s. Works great. I will not shoot this unsuppressed because I only bought it to shoot it suppressed. Not that I have it. I have shot it with supersonic loads, but at this point I only have subsonic loads for this. So it makes absolutely no sense for me to waste ammo shooting it normally without the suppressor, because that's what they're made for. They're subsonic. But having said that, I have shot this with supersonic loads a ton. I don't have any anymore, so I won't shoot it unsuppressed. So let's start at the beginning. So AAC, actually let's show and clear the weapon. As you can see, sorry I moved a little post there where the camera's sitting there, but you see it's clear. So AAC, when they released it, they originally had their 3-prong flash hider with their 51 tooth ratcheting setup, which it works. It's pretty awesome. It makes this ping though when you shoot it unsuppressed. See if you can hear it. I find it pretty funny. It's almost like one of those little harmonic pingers. That's what it sounds like. Is what it reminds me of. But anyway, that's what came from factory. I didn't actually have to buy anything for it. And so moving on to the barrel, this one's the 9-inch barrel, as I mentioned. And I believe it came also with the 12 and a half, I believe. And I know for, 16-inch for sure is what it came with. So I got mine in 9 because this is my bedside gun. I keep this next to my bed when I sleep. This is sitting there. If I, when I leave for work or for whatever reason I'm out of the house, this is back in the safe and it's locked up. And then when I'm back at home and I'm ready to go to bed, this comes out and is right next to my bed again. And I keep the suppressor on it at all times. So again, so all 3 barrel lengths, they're all 1 in 7 twists, as I mentioned. So this came on it. I'll show pretty much what it is. I only really took it off so you see how short the package is. Now, even with the can on it, you see, and you'll hear the ratchet. You hear it ratchet in place here. And that's locked in place there. Now it's got the little unlock piece here that you just press and turn. You just got to press that and twist it counterclockwise. But for this, I'm just going to keep it on there for the duration of the video. It's moving on back to the rail. So I believe this is a Knights Armament rail for sure. It says Knights Armament there. Actually, let's turn it this way so you can see it. It says Knights Armament on there. I'm a huge Knights Armament fan, as some of you will come to see here shortly. But this is their rail. I believe it's the URX3 if I'm not mistaken. But this came from factory. I like the rail. It's pretty solid, free floating. It's a good system, great system for what it is. It's awesome, and I do love the profile of it. What I do wish that they ended up doing though on this is give you at least a little bit more rail space, some more real estate with rails back here that comes back further towards the shooter. I had one of the short Bravo Company vertical grips on this, and I ended up cooking my index up against the can because I kind of just wedged it there. It was like just a natural point for me. Now, I have pretty good substantial nerve damage all through my body, so I didn't feel it at first. I felt it after 4 or 5 mags, and by that point, yeah, I damn near removed some of the tattoo that I have on my finger there. But it was pretty well done, to say the least. And it was disgusting after a couple of days. But yeah, I wish they kind of would have just put a little bit more rails back here so I can actually put that foregrip further back so I'm not killing myself with that. Another thing that, you could do, and I did do it before, I had a hand stop there that actually doubles as a barricade. And I took that off because I wanted to use it on a different rifle as a barricade, or on a barricade, and I don't know what the hell I did with it. I think it might have fell off inside the safe or something. I'm not entirely sure, but I can't find it now. But that was from Knights Armament, so I'm a little butthurt because that little piece of aluminum was like 80 bucks, and I can't find the damn thing. Anyway, so that's something that you could do. Just something to keep in mind with it. This didn't come with backup sights. I ended up going with the Arms backup sights. I love their brand. I've used them from way back when in my days in the Marine Corps, along with a lot of the Knights Armament stuff. It kind of went hand in hand back then. But this didn't come with anything. So I used to use it at first. I had a PEC 15 up front, up there, and it worked perfect because I had the perfect height clearance from the optic. Not that you really need the clearance for optics, but I used to have my PEC 15 up front there. And I'll show you more or less how I had it, but I'll show you why I took it off. But this was essentially here, and mainly because it didn't come with night sights and I wanted to use something. Now, I used to bring my night vision, my PVS 14s from work home with me. I don't bring them anymore, but that's why I had this on here, because I wanted to actually see it. But actually it took too long, just like donning or putting on night vision, turning it on, turning this on. for home defense, you know what? That's not actually doable. You're not gonna do that, you know. But I took this off. Now, for any other sort of, if you're fielding this and actually using it for like hog hunting or whatever, you can still use this in this setup for this configuration. You can put it, mount it here on the side, or mount it directly on top in place of the front sight post. Your front sight, not the front sight post, your front sight. And you could do it back here. Now, I tried this once, and the reason I took it off is because this is actually wide enough at the base to where the laser and the light, both in IR, would actually shine back into my face from the PPS 14s. So I took it off. It was not a functioning setup in that configuration with the PEC 15 in the back, and then having or maintaining the front sight in place. So that, for something this short, would only really work up front. But you're limited in real estate in here, so, and that takes up a lot, even though it's not a big unit. It's only like 4 inches long, but it takes up half of your rail. So I ended up taking it off altogether. I'm not going to use that for home defense. It's not doable for my setup and my purposes. Because again, this is just a home defense gun. I'm not going to take this to go, I'm not going to go storm the beaches anywhere. This is for home. That's it. That's his main and only purpose. So if somebody wants to come into my house and have a love-hate relationship with me up close and personal, this is going to be what we're going to meet with. So, and, because there's no such thing really as movie quiet. You guys, some silencers out there, some suppressors that actually work phenomenally, especially the ones with the wipes, the ones that work with wipes, and 22 suppressors. So that's really the only two things that you're going to be working with that are going to be what they call movie quiet, Hollywood quiet. But even the ones with the wipe, the wipes, they only work for a certain amount of rounds. After 10 rounds or so, you're not getting that same decibel reduction out of that can. But I have this set up as such, and it's that quiet, mainly, again, for home defense. So if somebody decides to come into my house, I don't wake my children up with loud noises. Like I mentioned, as much as I love shooting, I don't like loud noises. I love guns, but I hate loud noises. So almost everything I have, I shoot with a can on it. And I don't want to traumatize my kids. So if something were to happen, I'll just tell them about it in the morning after everything is said and done. So yeah, here, moving on. Actually, since we're still at the rail, let's turn this around here. I had mentioned that I burned myself here, and I wished that I had a little bit more rail space here so I can actually shoot it, gripping it, and not actually kill myself with the suppressor. So what I end up doing now is I kind of index myself with my thumb in the rear of the sting of the light here. It's just another little surefire light. Let me see if I can actually show you guys how I do it. But this is, I kind of pretend like there were a gun here or a grip here. I just index here, and that's just how I use it. There's really no recoil to this thing, so I've got no problem actually shooting it as such. But as you can see, I don't actually touch the silencer up top or up front, so we're good. Now up top here on the receiver end, we've got the Aimpoint M4S. Now I love this thing. This is pretty awesome. Now they have the regular M4 that has the battery pack up top. That to me looks goofy as fuck, so I didn't want to do that one. I wanted the M4S, the S1. They're optic-wise, it's exactly the same. It's just that the battery pack on the M4S is down below. I like that. It's a lot better for me because it's not as goofy. I don't have that big tube on top next to the. It's just below. It's really the only difference. Battery placement's really the only difference. Same with, I believe it's the new one now. It's the M5, the Comp M5 or M5S, which may be what I end up going to for this setup. Again, just because it takes up less real estate, but it looks identical, just shrunken. So almost like a micro T1, T2 with an external battery pack, I guess. That's my take on it. So this one takes AA batteries. That's awesome. I don't have to deal with trying to source crazy batteries for it. If my batteries go down here and I'm in a kind of shade the fan situation, I'll just find a remote laying around somewhere and take the batteries out, put them in here. This was worth the money, absolutely worth the money. Now, I'm assuming, pretty safe assumption on my part, that the M5 is going to be the same principle with AAA batteries. I'm just guessing. Don't quote me, because I don't actually own one, and I haven't read up on it, so I don't know any of the specs. I just know it looks like this, a lot shorter, a lot smaller. Speaking about the optics still, this one came when I bought it with the LaRue Tactical mount, and it has a riser on it. Now, I wasn't too crazy about the riser. I don't like the way it looks because it sits tall. And if you know me and know pretty much how I like all of my setups, I want the smallest and shortest, most streamlined and the smallest package that I can possibly get, period. I don't want to have like a short package and then a tall optic on it. But after shooting this a lot, I am not going to change this setup because it works perfectly for me in more ways than one. The optic itself, you know, like I mentioned, is great. But if I were to have it the way that I want it to be, which is down basically on the rail, I would actually have to hunch down a lot more and bring the gun higher up. Now, the way I shoot a little bit differently than a lot of people. I don't actually shoulder the stock. I put the stock as close to the center of my chest as possible, and that helps me with accuracy tremendously. Like, I can do follow-up shots like it's nobody's business, and my groups are tight because the gun is center to my body. It's not on one end or the other. So I'm taking all of the recoil that this is pushing out to the biggest part that I can possibly put my body behind the gun. So I mean, if I could put this on my stomach or my hip, I would. If I can pelvic girdle shoot this thing, I would. But I don't, you know, obviously you can't do that. So I shoot at the center. So that helps me a lot with the way I shoot, is having this up higher so I can actually keep it on my eyes and not have any issues actually trying to strain and, you know, kind of crouch my body down and lift my shoulders up. I get to shoot a hell of a lot more relaxed while doing this. This thing is so much comfortable than any other of my setups. Now, another thing where I actually I found this, and while I was actually using this, where it was a really crappy windy day where I got sand on my shooting eye, and I wasn't really able to work with it, but I was still in the middle of a drill. So I decided not to stop, and the only thing that I did was cant it over to my left eye. So my dominant eye for that situation, and this was just in training, my dominant eye, for all intents and purposes, it went down. It was no longer working, and I just adjusted and just canted the weapon over a little bit to use my left eye. And that is the most phenomenal thing that I found about using the riser, not only for comfort. Comfort is secondary when it comes to function, right? But if you're not shooting comfortably, you're straining yourself. You want to be as comfortable as possible, but you want to get the most out of the gear. So by me being actually able to use both eyes with this setup and not having to strain myself to do so, this setup here is amazing. So I'm actually probably gonna high rise everything that I have. Everything that I have right now is set low. And I'm gonna probably spend I don't know, at least $500 on mounts with high rises, so I can switch everything over, at the very least on everything that I shoot often. So this and maybe 2 or 3 other rifles. Everything else is gonna stay as is because they're safe coins. But anyway, yeah, that's that setup right there. I love that thing. I won't change it. So if hopefully that helps anybody in determining or deciding how they want to set up their optic on their rifle. Definitely get a high rise. Don't go so much for that cool ass, you know, high speed, low drag look, because you're gonna end up struggling at the end of the day. All right, so moving on down from that, Magpul actually, they made the furniture for this originally. They had their grip and their stock. I actually switched that. I'll touch on that in a second. But I like Magpul. They have this bad lever. This is, in my opinion, one of the most phenomenal things for 30 bucks that you can add to any mil-spec rifle. This deal here, it lets you manipulate your slide lock, slide release operation by the flick of a finger. So I don't actually have to leave this hand or take this hand off from its position to manipulate this deal to get mags in or out or release the bolt or whatever, or what have you, or actually charge that charging handle once I actually reload the weapon if I go dry. So I'll go real quick, see if you can actually see how you can just push this forward or push it up towards the gun, and now you're locked back. Now to let go or to send the bolt home, you just push this inwards and you're good. That thing right there is the absolute best, like 25 or 30 bucks I've spent on anything. Now I have found so far that this doesn't work on all of my rifles, so I only have it on all of the mil-spec ones that I have like this. If they came with a non-ambidextrous bolt release, it has a Magpul bad lever on it, because it's pretty awesome. That thing, if you don't have one, I would definitely get one and train with one. If you're in law enforcement and your department or your agency allows you to make external modifications like this, definitely look into it. Get one, train with it. It will most definitely change your life. I love this thing. Now, they came from factory with the BCG. It was actually, they had like a double coating. It had nickel and nickel boron. So that's pretty awesome. I've never actually taken this apart and cleaned it. I've got about 4,000 rounds through it at this point. And I've never actually done a complete disassembly and cleaning. And, I've never done a Marine Corps cleaning to this gun. I've only ever taken the bolt carrier group out and taken it apart. So, all right, so back from here, just move back here to, I've got these little anti-walk pins. They are, I believe, K and S, if I'm not mistaken. They're pretty cool. I like them things. If you're using like a mil-spec trigger or some sort of any trigger that may have issues with the pins actually walking off on you, this is definitely a good thing. I've never had that problem with this trigger because AAC actually went and used the Geisley trigger for this. This is actually the G2S trigger that's on this gun. So this pin, it's really just for show. It serves really no purpose here other than if the pins end up wanting to take a walk one day, this keeps them in place. But Geisley, they're pretty, spot on with their engineering. That's not a thing that I've ever seen happen or ever heard of happening with Geisley triggers. But that's pretty cool. So the G2S trigger is like, I believe it's 4.5, 5 pounds. It's a 2-stage trigger. Geisley 2-stage G2S. The first stage is like 2.5, and then the second stage is the same, like 2.5. I don't remember the specs on that. That's what don't quote me. I don't want to get sued, but I believe that's what it is. It's either 4.5 or 5. And they may vary because everything varies, right? It's all machining. So aside from that, everything else on the lower and upper, it's pretty much all just standard mil-spec stuff. Your safety selector is not ambidextrous. I decided not to change that because I can work just perfectly fine with my support hand, shooting and manipulating the safety. What I will end up changing though is this mil-spec charging handle that I, for whatever reason in the past like 10 years. I've never actually changed. And I am a fan of the Bravo gunfighter ones, so I'll do the medium one. The large one it tends to get caught up on everything that I own, so I will only do the mediums at the most. Now again, I said Magpul was the original provider for the furniture, except for the rails. So it did come with the rubberized Magpul. I don't remember what model, but it was a rubberized grip, and it came with the stock. So I took both of those off and I replaced them with the whole grip because I love this grip. I love the feel of it. The other one felt just as good, but I love the finger grooves. I've been partial to that forever. So I went with that. And then I've used the Veltor stock since my days in the Marine Corps. So I love this. I know it through and through, so I only really put these. And not that I won't use anything else, it's just that I like the look of these, and you know, that's really it. It doesn't really serve anything, any other purpose, or any purpose that any other stock doesn't do. There's nothing special about it other than I prefer it, to be honest with you. So here you have a little DQ ring, or DQ, Dairy Queen. It's got a Dairy Queen ring. It's got a QD ring here that I'm struggling with to take off, but yeah, and that's it's really all for the way the rifle is. One other thing actually that I will point out, because I have it is so quiet when I was shooting it previously, that I found that the buffer spring and tube, the buffer spring and buffer inside the tube was rattling and making a lot of disgusting noises. And so I went and changed that to the JP Capture Silent Spring. That spring is most definitely worth the money. I know they don't make this anymore, but if you can source one, especially if you're going to shoot suppressed, I would definitely get that. But even if you're not going to shoot suppressed, it definitely makes the rear of your shooting experience. It'll make the rear of your rifle a lot quieter. You don't get that gritty, that springy sound. See if the camera will capture the sound a little bit. I'm gonna bring it up a little bit so you can actually hear this. You're gonna hear the dust cover slap this and pretty much nothing else. That thing is extremely quiet. I love how smooth it operates now. You don't get any of that grittiness. So yeah, that's essentially it on this rifle. I love this rifle. It is pretty awesome. I don't know if I mentioned, actually no, I didn't mention. It is a gas impingement system. It doesn't use pistons, mainly because you have pros and cons to everything, right? So pistons are great. They function awesome. Basically turn your AR into like an AK functioning rifle, right? Same kind of setup, or same kind of gas system, not setup. But while the gas piston system will help keep your system cleaner, they are loud. And the main goal for them to develop this was to keep it as quiet as possible. So they made it direct impingement, gas impingement, direct gas impingement, and it's a way quieter system, as if they would have went with a piston system. Now I'm sure they probably have done a piston setup with this, and it'll end up being louder than this, because it's just, piston is louder. It just is. I'm sure technology has come a long way, but there's no way you're going to get quieter than a direct impingement setup. Yeah, now one last thing, just as something that I do. It's not actually on the weapon itself, but the ammo, point at me, fucker. The ammo itself, yeah, here, I'll talk real quick. If you're not gun people, and you're just tuning in and watching gun stuff, just getting into it, 300 blackout. Now I'll go just a short overview. I know there's a lot more science that went into the development of this, but AAC and Remington, they got together in the development of the round, and essentially what they did was take a 30 cal round and a 5.56 shell, and they shaved the neck on the 5.56 shell down far enough until that 5.56, I'm sorry, that 30 cal round could fit in it, and that was, for all intents and purposes, the 300 blackout, the AAC 300 blackout round. It's awesome. I mean, the 30 cal bullet is almost like like the AK round. So the AK round is 7.62 by 39. 300 blackout is 7.62 by 35. So it's just shy of that ballistic performance of the AK, but you're shooting it out of an AR platform. So for us that are, AR biased, it's better, maybe worse. We don't know. I like it better. Because I'm an AR guy. I'm not an AK guy. Even though I was a AK instructor or a foreign weapons instructor before. But I like this round. I love this round. Now they went with this for the setup because they didn't want to change anything about the AR setup or the M16 or M4 setup. So everything is interchangeable from here on back with a regular AR-15. The only difference throughout the whole system is the bolt. I'm sorry, it's not the bolt, it's the barrel. So even though it uses a 30 cal, because it's using a 5.56 shell, the bolt carrier system is still your standard AR or M16 bolt carrier. Everything is exactly the same. The only difference, again, is just the barrel. Even the mags are the same. So you can still use your regular 5.56 or standard AR mags for 300 blackout with all 30 rounds in it, or 60, or whatever, what have you, whatever if it fits 5.56, if it can fit 300 blackout. Now, where I'm getting at with this is because you can fit both calibers in the same exact magazine. What I like to do is all of my polymer translucent mags, I only load with 300 blackout. And then all of my, like my HK steel mags or any of the Magpool mags that I can't see through, those are 5.56. Because, I mean, if you go by, for instance, I believe, I don't know if you can catch it. Let me actually get up top, see if you can see it here. Where am I? All right, if you can see it, you can kind of see it here. Yeah, well, there it is. Right there. Let me see if this thing will zoom in. Well, you can kind of see it right there. This says 5.56 by 45. But this mag itself is actually loaded with nothing but 300 blackout. I don't have any 5.56 in here. But I know it's 300 blackout because it's one of my translucent mags. I only load 300 blackout in my polymer translucent mags. And then all of my steel mags or aluminum mags or even the P mags, but that if I can't see through it, it's a 5.56. And it's really just to keep it simple and safer for me. Those are the only two calibers, even though I have several other calibers, even in AR. I only use 300 and 5.56. Those are the only two that I keep loaded. Mainly because most of the mags, and even in the other calibers, 6.8 and 6.5, they still fit your standard loaders. But if you don't ever want to shoot your 300, your 5.56 and a 300, or even less, 300 and a 5.56 uppers, that's going to be an interesting night, to say the least. You're going to probably end up spending at least a couple hours in the emergency room. So that's just something to think about if you own multiple weapons and you want to keep ammo loaded in it. You definitely want to, at the very least, have it marked or know what mags you have for what. So for me, I don't have them marked, but I know and my wife knows that everything that, if you can see the ammo through it, it's going to be 300 blackout. And if you can't see through it, it's going to be 5.56. And yeah, guys, so that's going to be pretty much it for this video. Hope you guys like it. If you like it, press that like button. If you don't, then press dislike and be on your way. All right, guys, real quick, MPW 300 blackout. I'm gonna shoot it suppressed, obviously. I've got my work lower with the giggle switch. I'll be using that one for this. And yeah. I'm gonna save at least some ammo considering all the bullshit that's happening, but you pretty much get the gist there. Super quiet, smooth. I love this rifle.